So today I'm going to set up this new bird feeding area, and I'm going to have to add a couple things to this to make sure that the birds feel protected here, because at the moment they're kind of popping over and then they're quick flying away. So obviously they don't feel protected. And my whole goal of doing this, I've kind of grabbed a bird, like a hanger and a couple bird feeders from a different garden, but I have it about 1.5 feet outside of a picture window, which is at ground level. So my goal here is that I'd like to keep track of what new birds are coming to my yard, because in the front I'm noticing some really unusual birds, and I want to kind of catalog that and also just be better at sketching birds. And I think I'm going to do a video on that in a couple days. And that's one of my kind of directions for this year, is I really want to notice what birds are in my yard. And then I also want to be able to sketch them and get more skilled at sketching birds. So that's kind of my reason for doing this, kind of up close and personal to my picture window here in my den. And in my den, we have a nice fireplace here and everything. So it is a nice place to sit. The couch is right here. So it's a nice place to sit, and then I'll be able to, look at the birds and sketch them and everything. So as I said, the birds are coming. I have like a suet feeder here, which is not as popular right now because it's probably frozen solid, but this is exactly what the birds need at this time of year. And it's January and it's really cold outside. It's probably about 10 degrees, and we've had a snowstorm and ice storm for the past few days. So the weather's not great, and this is why I'm focusing right now on feeding the birds. So I guess it would be nice to be planting seedlings or whatever, but honestly, I'm prioritizing feeding the birds right now because I feel like that's really what is needed. And then I will focus on planting some seedlings really soon, but I do want to get these feeding areas so that the birds are really happy. So I filled the bird feeder, and this is just a bird feeder that is pretty standard at Home Depot, and when I bought it, it was about $8, and I just really like this style. It's easy for me to fill, and the birds really like it, so it's pretty simple. And then of course I do have the one suet there. And then this is a stick pile that I have just put here because the birds were not liking this spot. They were so I'm going to say flighty, even though that's kind of funny, but they were so stressed, and they'd pop over and then quick fly back across the yard into one bush that is back there. So they are just not happy with this. And I knew they would be spooked because obviously there's people sitting right on the other side of this window. So now I just put, I cut some branches from my knockout roses and from a grandiflora rose. So I have small branches and larger branches that have those thorns, which I find the birds like to sit in rose bushes. I think they feel more protected that way. And then I've also covered it with branches from my Norway spruce tree, which is huge. But since we've just had this storm, all these branches are kind of down on the ground. And this is that bush where the birds are actually congregating. So they're flying from there all the way over to get food. So I'm going to try to mimic making a bush over here. So I've added some spruce, I've added some birch branches, and a lot of it is butterfly bush branches, all things that kind of came down in the storm. And I'm just piling them up here, and it's a little bit dense, but I feel like I'm going to have to keep adding to this till the birds are really comfortable here. But so far they're already in this stick pile. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I think it's really going to help have the birds hanging out here, because the point is, if I'm trying to see what birds are here, they're coming back so quickly that I can't even quite see what they are. So just trying to make them a nice little area where they feel protected and that they can kind of hang out, and that will facilitate me being able to see them. So I hope that you like this idea, and I will give you an update and let you know how well this is turning out. So between me filming it first and then building the stick pile, I had a line of fox tracks across the yard. So I obviously missed the fox, but he was here. So hopefully everything will feel protected, and I will keep you updated. So thank you so much for watching.